right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the February edition of our community meeting series. We appreciate everyone taking the time out of your busy days to join us. Today's topic is going to be unhoused outreach, or the outreach that we do to our unhoused neighbors throughout San Jose. And in a moment, I'm going to have Vanessa Butera lead us through a short presentation, and then we'll do some Q&A. Vanessa is in the City of San Jose Housing Department, and she helps lead the homelessness response team. So I'll hand it over to her in just a minute. But first, just want to make sure that we take care of some housekeeping. And those of you who've been on these calls before know how it works. But we will do Q&A after Vanessa's done with her presentation, and we do that through the chat function. So if you have questions for Vanessa, please send them to me in the chat function, and I will read each of the questions, and Vanessa will answer them for us. So again, just send your questions through the chat function. That's how we do it. And I also want to let everyone know that we do record these meetings, and within a few days after these sessions, we post the recording as well as a transcript, as well as the presentation on our website. And we will send links to everyone who registered for the meeting today, so that if you want to review the meeting today on our website, you'll be able to do that. And if you know of anybody who wanted to attend but was unable to attend, you can share that link with them. So we want to make sure that all the meetings that we do are well documented and that everybody can view them at their leisure or at their convenience in the future. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Vanessa, and I'm going to share my screen and bring up a presentation that Vanessa is going to walk us through.
Thanks, Jeff.
Go ahead.
I don't see the presentation. Oh, there we go. All right, thank you. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Vanessa Butera. I oversee all of the outreach and crisis response programs for the city's housing department. And we will get into exactly what is outreach, keeping it very simple so that it makes sense so everybody can understand what we truly do to reach our unhoused community. Next slide. So what is outreach? Outreach is bringing services to individuals living in a place not meant for habitation. What does that mean? That means that we go to any place that people are residing and living outside in the elements, either in their car, their RV, or in an encampment. An encampment is a tent or structure set up somewhere, and we have outreach teams that go and bring services to those individuals. So we have teams in the field 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, offering and checking in with individuals citywide and bringing those resources or services to them. Main thing that we're focusing on is relationship building. Building that trust with those individuals is key, because many of our folks have a lot of distrust in the larger system. And so our outreach workers are meant to bridge that gap so that folks will take the services that we are offering. We'll get into what some of those services are in later slides, but ultimately it's building that rapport. Following through is key. One of the biggest things that I tell my team is that if you promise something, you must deliver. So don't promise anything you can't deliver. And then really providing that guidance that it is needed to get to the next step of their housing journey. And for everybody, that looks very different. So each case is individualized. So our outreach teams are very skilled on kind of how to navigate the overall larger system. And we are bringing supplies and resources to those individuals. When we go out, we can go into the next slide and I can go into a little bit more detail on what that looks like. So the city has three contracts with two nonprofit providers, Home First and Path, to conduct outreach for the city of San Jose. We also have an internal team that provides outreach services on behalf of the city. They are city employees, and we are in the process of standing up a new team. It's called the Enhanced Engagement Program or team that will also be an internal city team to provide support to individuals living in encampments and other areas of the city. And we'll go into further detail on what each of those roles and responsibilities are in the next few slides. So we've shifted our model a little bit with the city. We used to have very targeted outreach. We used to tell our providers with Home First and Path that they would visit just very specific encampments. It made it a bit challenging when we had to deviate from that. So just recently, we've updated our model on how we provide services citywide. So we've broken up the city into quadrants, 4 quadrants, north, south, east, and west. And we have carved out a very small portion downtown. And PATH provides the services in the north and east quadrant. Home First provides services in the west and the south quadrant. And our internal city team that we currently have in operation provides services in our downtown area. This map is available online, and you all can zoom in to see, exactly which street falls where, and the delineation of the downtown boundaries, so you can see exactly, who starts and ends where. But some of the services that we can offer to the individuals is, again, engagement, that trust building, as I had mentioned, resource navigation, that is, how do we get into a shelter? How do I sign up for, benefits? What is it that I need to do to get into the overall county system? And those are all things that we help navigate those individuals with. And then obviously shelter referrals is one of the key components. Next slide. As mentioned, Home First has 2 contracts with us to provide outreach. We have a reactive team called Home First Citywide. They provide outreach resources in a reactive manner. So all the 2 teams I had discussed in the previous slide, they do proactive work, meaning they have used their maps to decide where they go based on the encampments that they need to visit, or it's really client driven. Home First Citywide is a interdepartmental team that is also operated through Home First. They react to a system that the city manages internally when there is any type of abatement that might be occurring with our partners within Parks Neighborhood Recreation Services. An abatement is, encampment removal, or if there's a concern for someone's well-being, similar to like a welfare check, we will dispatch Home First Citywide to check in with those individuals. Let me step back a little bit. The abatement team, abatement is kind of a shared responsibility currently, but that's going to be modified, and I'll get into that in the next step. Next slide. So, there you go. So as I mentioned, a new team is being stood up within the city. It's called the Enhanced Engagement Program or Enhanced Engagement Team. This team is being stood up in response to supporting enforcement actions. As probably many are not familiarized, but enforcement and outreach don't really go hand in hand. And so we like to separate those duties. And so while currently we have the citywide team helping support notifications or reminders of when an enforcement action is going to occur at a site, it often doesn't result in positive results because people are frustrated, that they're being enforced on. And so since the goal of the outreach team is to ultimately build trust within the system and help that person navigate the resources that they need for their individualized case, we wanted to separate that out. This was a direction that the mayor had asked us to do in support of a new neighborhood quality of life team that he stood up through the police department. And so our EEP team is really going to be that team to help individuals that are going to be enforced on. They're going to help triage information around like clarity of when the abatement is going to occur. Reasonable accommodations is another component. Somebody is asking for a reasonable accommodation within an abatement because they often need more time, and so there's a process that we have to follow. This team will complete those. This team will also provide minimal service connections. We have to be very careful with the data that we are sharing about somebody, and so all of our other outreach teams with Home First, Path, and the internal team, we use a database system called Homeless Information Management System. And that system allows us to track different services and offers that we have that when we're working with somebody. This enhanced engagement team will not be using that system because of the confidentiality that we have to adhere if we are an HMIS user. So this team is really going to be about informing individuals so that they feel they have advance notice and completing those reasonable accommodations, and then also informing individuals where they other abatements are going to occur so that they don't likely move to another site that's going to be abated. Next slide. So we wanted to share this visual with you because it kind of breaks out specifically what each team is responsible for and which part of the city that the team is responsible for. And I know we use those vague terms of provide services and resources. So what does that mean? So to help build that trust, because we treat every encampment or car that someone is living in or RV as their home, we want to bridge that gap with some type of engagement tools. So we often use hygiene kits or water or a combination of both to bridge the communication gap of, hey, I'm here, would you mind talking to me? And that's often how an interaction goes, is we'll knock on a window, we'll announce ourselves when we go to someone's tent to let them know who's here. We let them know we have snacks and hygiene kits, things that are not easily accessible to those that that are living outside. So we offer these initial engagement tools, and then that's where the conversation starts. And the conversation is led by the person, depending on if they're open to talking with us or if they're not. And not every day someone is willing to talk to us, and because like we all have bad days, we all have days that we may just not feel like engaging. And so if that's the case, we respectfully leave the items behind and just let them know we'll be back. We often leave a resource pamphlet that we have too, with phone numbers and a business card letting them know that we'll be back. And then we go back. Like I said, we always follow through with what we promise, and so we will go back. And it could take multiple times of us visiting that same encampment. I've been doing this work since 2009, and I've come across different cases where it's taken years for a single person to trust us, or it's taken one interaction for someone to trust us. And it all depends on what that journey is. So not every journey is the same. Not every person experiencing homelessness has the same thing that ended up having them end up living in a place not meant for habitation. So we respectfully wait for them to ultimately be open and wanting to share that story. It's a very personal story, so we take the time to listen, because sometimes folks want to share their story and they want to talk, and we're here to listen. And so based off of the information they would like to share with us, we will then ask them, is it okay if we enroll you? What does that mean? We'll take some information down, put them in the database that I had mentioned, the HMIS, and then we ask them if we can do an assessment. And an assessment determines their vulnerability. How vulnerable are you right now, and what services do you need so that we can get you in a better place. And these series of questions are all self-reported questions. And so we take it again for what the person says when we're offering this. And ultimately what this does is this assessment and them being in this database gives them access to not only City of San Jose funding, but county resources as well. We partner very close with the county, and they have a whole system built in to help support somebody, because if they have a mental health or behavioral health concern, they take on our permanent supportive housing. That is housing that is supported for the duration of someone's life, monetarily, and also with case management. So this system helps get a person into those county resources. And so ultimately, the city is helping those individuals get into the different permanent supportive housing, or if they need a shorter assistance to then help resolve their homelessness, it's called rapid rehousing. We're getting them into those systems. And again, all of this is because someone is willing to trust us and willing to trust the system. We don't force any of these services on them. And so when someone is ready, we're there to help. Next slide. Another component that we've recently just implemented is anytime we open a new program or project within the City of San Jose, any type of tiny home community, motel conversion that we've taken over, a tent-based site that we have, a safe parking program as well. We do proactive outreach 1.5 miles with a radius within that new opening. We do that so that we can offer a space in whatever new program that is to a person that is legitimately living in that neighborhood. So we can help not only get someone else inside, but also help that neighborhood so that they don't have, someone living unsheltered in their neighborhood, so that we are truly sheltering our neighbors. And so currently, we have either Path or Home First doing that work, because they are working within the quadrant, depending on where that new program is. We provide that service. Excuse me. Next slide. Some of the other resources that the city kind of incorporates within our outreach teams is like I had mentioned, we have connections to various programming that the city funds, and the way that somebody would gain access to either our tiny home community, our tent-based site, our safe parking site, or motels, is that our outreach workers would provide that referral. Typically, if you all are familiar with homeless services, the county operates a county-wide resource line, as we call it. It's called the Here For You hotline, and someone can call that phone number 7 days a week and speak to somebody and let them know that they're in need of a shelter resource. That shelter resource is not available the same day that they're calling, so they often get placed on that wait list. But and same thing with our outreach teams. When we are saying we are connecting them to the various interim shelter opportunities that we have, it's never the same day that we sign them up. Oftentimes they are placed on a wait list, and then when their name gets pulled because we have an opening, we then go back out to find that person. And so because the city has many interim housing opportunities, we're able to go back out to those locations fairly quickly and let those folks know that there's an opening. But the Here For You hotline is just a great way for someone to, if they're newly homeless, they don't know where to start. None of our outreach teams have Home First and Path and our internal city teams don't have direct lines that somebody can call and say, hey, I want to meet with you. All of those teams are meeting individuals organically because they're visiting encampments. But the Here For You hotline is a great way for someone to start if they don't know where to begin with resources. So the Here For You hotline can help them with shelter resources. They can help with like information around where do I go to get food or mail or various things like that. So it's also a resource line. And then they can also help with um, some diversion and point people into the direction of prevention if they are on the verge of being homeless as well too. And diversion is helping them quickly resolve their homelessness, potentially through some like reunification resources. And on the next slide, I think we have information about that. So the city has their own version of a reunification program and the county has their version. So we partner together, but the city has what we call Homeward Bound. It is a reunification program where we can provide transportation for somebody if they have a legitimate place to relocate to. And what we do is we call that family or friend that is willing to welcome that person back home to verify that they have a permanent space to live if we were to send them back. And if they say yes, then we coordinate a bus or a train to whatever location. Unfortunately, where we can't provide services is to international or to Hawaii. So that's where we partner with our friends at the county. And part of their diversion program is they can help support if somebody needs a flight somewhere. And they do a very similar process of vetting that we're not just sending someone without a permanent place to go. And then during our cold weather months, we here in the Homeless Response Division also operate overnight warming locations where we turn a single community center and a single library into an overnight shelter. We can provide 30 additional spaces for individuals. We have restrooms and hygiene services available through our mobile shower and laundry truck. And then we also provide case management. Those those beds are typically available starting in December and run all the way through the end of April. Again, offering just additional spaces when it's cold and rainy, like it has been. So once the weather goes back to our normal California weather, those 60 additional beds are not available in the summertime. Next slide. All right, I think we have questions now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vanessa. And Juan Villalobos has joined us, as I think everyone can see. So Juan works with Vanessa. He's also on the homelessness response team. So thanks for walking through that, Vanessa. And I just wanted to clarify something. I believe at the beginning of this, I misspoke. I said we're using the chat function. I should have said Q&A, the Q&A function. So down near the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll either see the Q&A function or you'll see some dots that you can click on, and that'll open up the Q&A function, and you can place your questions there, and I will read them for Vanessa and Juan. Um, so with that, I'm going to take a look at the Q&A, and I will start reading the questions off. Okay, so one question here. When unhoused people call the Here For You hotline and no one answers, is there a process by which, and I know this is county-wide, so you may not know, but is there a process by which the Here For You hotline staff is supposed to follow up with them, or is it on the unhoused person to continue calling the Here For You hotline?
Yes, so a person should leave a message. And then they should be receiving a follow-up within 24 hours. If you leave it on Friday, oh yeah, they are open 7 days a week. In good faith and due diligence, it doesn't hurt for the person that's making the call to always follow up again as well too.
All right. Someone asked about the slides, and if they're going to be available. Yes. So Again, just to reiterate what I said before, all the materials, the video recording of this session, a transcript of the session, and also the slides that Vanessa just went through, we're going to post all of those on our website. It usually takes us a couple of days, so by early next week, they'll be up on our website. And so everyone who registered for this Zoom session will get an email letting them know with a link, letting them know that all the materials from today's meeting are available. Um, all right. So somebody's another question about here for you. And that is, uh, have you received, you meaning the team, our homeless outreach team here in the city, have you received feedback from people who've tried to use the Here For You hotline? And if so, what kind of feedback have you gotten?
We have received feedback, and it's mixed. Sometimes the feedback is positive and their concern was resolved. And sometimes it's not so positive, and they say that no one answers the phone and it takes a very long time to hear from somebody. Um, and so when we hear these types of concerns, we share them with the county. The county the county is the one that funds the program. Bill Wilson Center is the one that actually operates the Here For You hotline. So if you go onto the county website or the Bill Wilson website as well, they will let you know the hours of operations and what the expectations are as well.
All right. Next question is about owls. What are the overall accessibility parameters for owls?
I don't know what,
We
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
go
know what
ahead.
they mean by accessibility, but it's ADA compliant, right? So we have it in the library or community center, and so it's accessible. We also have cots for guests that are ADA. As far as accessing it, that would be a referral from one of our outreach teams. So I don't know which way you meant accessible, but those are the two venues.
Okay. And so just to clarify that, Juan, so what you're saying is that owls typically are not drop-in services. You get a referral to guarantee you have a bed.
Correct. They are walk-in when we activate for inclement weather, like we are currently in right now. We will expand Roosevelt from 30 beds to 60 beds. Right now, we are taking on a walk-in basis.
Okay. And then when this current severe weather is over in a few days, then it reverts back to referral only.
Correct.
And just to clarify on that one, because so the county will declare inclement weather, and then the city also declares inclement weather. Our triggers for declaring inclement weather is slightly different, and so when the city declares inclement weather or a state of emergency, something like that, is usually when we expand our capacity at Roosevelt. If the county declares inclement weather, but it doesn't meet our thresholds, then we do not expand.
Okay. And I can tell you just on the communication side, we will typically send out, we'll typically do social media posts to let the community know that we're expanding. And then, of course, our outreach teams are also able to tell people, any unhoused people they come across throughout the city, that there is an expansion. And then and there are a number of other things. There are oftentimes messages from the county. Again, that's countywide, as Vanessa just described. But there's usually multiple different mechanisms by which we try to get the word out that we are expanding. I know uh, both our library and our Parks and Recs departments, which operate the libraries and our community centers, will also publicize if and when any of their sites are being expanded for the owls. All right. Next question. How does separating out the EEP from the existing internal and contracted outreach teams impact the effectiveness of the EEP?
Those are great questions. So EEP is currently not in operations yet. We are waiting to have the individuals join the city. So we recognize that it is a weird dynamic because it is, enforcement based. EEP is dealt around enforcement based. So we will likely have a better determination on kind of those separations. But right now, again, it's about ensuring that communication is clear and it is very and as far in advance as possible. So we're just trying to make sure that individuals are aware of what is going to be occurring with that site. So I can guarantee that we want this team to be very clear on dates and expectations.
I think separating out the EEP team allows the other teams to really focus on what it is that they do best, and that's, the long-term relationship building outreach, and where EEP is more, enforcement related. So,
But I think it's just, I think you guys have made this abundantly clear, but I think I just want to reiterate, even though this is associated with enforcement actions, EEP, when it launches, the EEP staff has nothing to do with enforcement. The EEP staff does not do any enforcement. They are not involved with enforcement in any way at all. They are going out to tell people ahead of time that an enforcement action by another department is coming, and to help them prepare, and to help people prepare, and help people move, and help people, connect or navigate resources that are available. So I just want to, I think the word enforcement, can be a little bit confusing, and I just want to make sure that we're clear that the EEP team itself is not going to be involved in any way, shape, or form with enforcing anything.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Next question is about wait lists to get into the programs that you described, Vanessa, and that is, what is the typical wait list time? And do you have a rough idea of how many people are currently on our wait lists?
It varies. When we have a new site that opens up, oftentimes those that are been on our wait list for a few months will, likely get pulled first, because they've been on the wait list for longer than somebody that was just met and placed on the wait list the day before. That is after our prioritization period. So for the first 30 days, when we open up a new site, as I had mentioned, we do that priority outreach. The folks that have been identified within that 1.5-mile radius get the priority to move in first within the first 30 days. After that, we then go to our navigation hub, and we pull people from the navigation hub if we need to backfill some of those units, if we have anybody that meets the criteria, and then we will also pull from our wait list as well. So it's hard to say a definitive time. We don't have an average length of time because it fluctuates so much.
Okay, next question here has to do with specific age group. Are there any programs available to young adults, like students between 18 and 24 years old?
The Bill Wilson Center would be our main provider to offer those specific, for our specific age groups. Juan, I'm going to defer to Juan on that one. Am I missing anybody
yeah, no, I
besides
think
Bill
the Bill
Wilson?
Wilson Drop-In Center is probably one of the best for 18 to 24-year-olds. Calling the Here For You hotline, and so they can make that warm handoff to the appropriate agencies. Bill Wilson would probably be your best bet.
Okay, another question is, does your team, do we do community events, community outreach events?
We do. So we will be asked by either community partners to join in on like a resource fair. Sometimes another department within the city is doing like a resource fair as well, or like a community engagement event, and they ask us to participate. And yes, we do. We do a tabling event.
Okay, next one comes, it looks like this might be from a landlord. It says, what resources can we offer to current tenants who have a hard time paying rent and are on the verge of losing their apartment?
Great question. That we have a prevention initiative program that we partner with the county on. If you were to go onto the County Office of Supportive Housing website and type in prevention, it will give all that information to you.
Yep, and we refer to that as HPS, the Homelessness Prevention System. And as Vanessa said, that's countywide. Um, next question, what training is provided to outreach workers?
We do harm reduction, motivational interviewing training. We do crisis intervention training. We do like Narcan and like first aid training. we, between Juan and I think we have about 20 years of experience. And so we also shadow and bring and have teams shadow in the field as well. What other training am I missing, Juan?
Of course, I mean, there's pet safety, HMIS, and your VI SPDAT training. That takes up a large portion of it. Responsible data usage and entry. And I think it's just important to note that training isn't a one-time event; it's an ongoing thing. Just because you join the team doesn't mean you're a finished product. We're all going to learn through it, and we're all going to grow together. So training is just ongoing with us.
And is that training done in-house? Do we hire third parties to offer the training? Is it a combination of both?
Oftentimes it's with our partners at the county or different county resources. And then, yeah, we'll do some crisis intervention training with behavioral health and PD.
Great. Okay, the next one I'll just read. I'll tell you this is a sensitive subject, but just in the spirit of transparency, we'll just go for it. This person writes, there are registered sex offenders living in some of our interim housing sites. Who authorizes sex offenders to live at the sites they live at?
Who authorizes those where they live at? I mean,
That's the question, yeah.
so okay. Probation and parole obviously dictate where someone can and cannot live. And so if someone self-reports that, then we would have to follow that guidance. But I believe Sarah said she was going to take that question. Sarah just said she was going to join in and take that question, or I think she was going to type it in.
Oh, can you make her a panelist?
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll come back to
Sarah,
that one.
yeah, Sarah's on the line. We're gonna have her start speaking in a second. Great. So those of you who don't know Sarah is one of the deputy directors here in the housing department. Sarah, sorry for that delay, but yeah, I think you heard the question.
Yeah, no worries. So this was a question about when there's someone with who's a registered sex offender living at a site. So just a couple of things there. Depending on the funding source of a site, certain sites are considered low barrier to entry, and so people with histories of incarceration are not screened out from those sites. They are, of course, if you're a sex offender, you are required to register at the address. Probably the person who asked knows this because they've looked up the address and found this information. Particularly with state home key funds, that low barrier to entry requirement is there, and screening people out is much more difficult to do. However, many of the site providers have had success with individuals who do have incarceration histories, are able to really work with individuals and work towards finding jobs, although again, limited job opportunities and permanent housing for individuals with those 290 convictions. That said, some of the sites that have only city-funded funding sources, like the motel-based programs, are able to limit the types of clients or particular demographics. And at least two of the sites of the motel-based sites have been limited to certain demographics that don't include people with past convictions. So it's something that we consider, but given certain funding requirements, that's not always what we can do. I will, of course, say that if someone is on parole, the site operators are required to coordinate with their parole officers or their probation officers and make sure that they're continuing on the right path after incarceration.
Great. Thanks for stepping in, Sarah.
Sure, of course.
All right. The next one, a person says that they've been on a wait list for a while, for quite a long time. Um, and the question is, how fast is the city working to help unhoused people find a place to live? And so I'll turn that over to you, Vanessa and Juan. But can you also clarify whether it's the city or the county that actually works through the wait list for permanent housing?
Yeah, so the Here For You hotline is ran by the county. We do not oversee that process, but I hear that that's clearly frustrating. 4 years is a long time. There is a scenario where if you called the Here For You hotline, they called you back because they had placement and the individual did not answer, that person would be removed off the wait list. So what I would recommend now is just calling back, getting your information in there, and asking them to update your contact information. So if you have an email, phone number, please provide that to the Here For You hotline, and they will update that in your profile. So when the next time an opportunity comes about, they'll be able to better get a hold of you. As far as, again, as Vanessa mentioned earlier, our turnaround time for, the city navigation hub, the motels and the EAHs, we don't really have much of an average time. But if you are working with our team and we are, get it through our process, it's not a 4 year wait. So to answer how fast it goes.
And the next question is related to getting these calls and responding to them. What type of information will people typically need when they call an unhoused person back to follow up? What type of information will they need?
Great question. So when someone is enrolled in the HMIS databases we mentioned, we ask for a contact information if somebody has a phone. Sometimes people don't have phones, and that's fine. We ask then, do you have a family or friend? Do you have another phone number where we can try to get a hold of you? Or we ask, where do you hang out throughout the days? Where can we find you? So these are all pieces of information that we can put into HMIS so that if the city is looking for you or somebody at the county is looking for you because you have a sheltering opportunity, then they will use all that information.
And for those of you who may not have seen it, Sarah posted the Here For You details, the hours of operation and the phone number for the Here For You hotline. It's in the Q&A section. So anyone who wants that information, if you scroll through the Q&A section, you'll see that Sarah posted that. Okay. Next question. What is the waitlist contact process? If you um, I think they're talking about the staff. If the staff goes back out to contact them and cannot locate the individual.
So we will go out to the location that we originally met them at. And again, if they were to offer the information that I had just mentioned about if we can't find you here, where can we find you? Do you have a family and friend? Do you have another phone number? We will look in HMIS to see if there's any of that information identified. If there's not, then there's a way to put a public alert in HMIS notifying all HMIS users that if Jeff comes to look for looks for our services somewhere, and it's not with outreach, but they go somewhere else. That person can then inform them, hey, somebody from the city is looking for you, try to get in contact with them. We will also go make multiple attempts to go back out to the location that we originally met you at. If there's anybody residing there still, we will ask them to let them know if you come back that we're looking for you. So we won't just stop looking for you after the first time, and we'll make multiple attempts to do it.
The next question is about someone who had a permanent place to stay at Renascent, um, lost their place, and the question here is, would that person still qualify for a Section 8 voucher? And I just want to say, and any of the panelists can jump in if they want, but generally speaking, in the city of San Jose and the county of Santa Clara, it is the Santa Clara County Housing Authority that manages the Section 8 voucher program. And so if people have a question and want kind of an expert response about Section 8 vouchers, I would encourage you to contact the Santa Clara County Housing Authority. And for immediate, short-term assistance, the Here For You hotline that Vanessa and Juan have been talking about is the place to go for short-term information.
Yeah,
Next
I
question.
just say, since a few people didn't see it, the Here For You hotline, the phone number is 408 385-2400. That's 385-2400. And it's open, as Vanessa said earlier, 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And I'll just add, Jeff, that I think you nailed the Section 8 question. But there is a distinction between the Section 8 referrals. There's one that it's tied to a unit, and so the individual gets that unit. But there's also Section 8 where the individual gets the referral, and they have to find a unit that accepts it. And so it just depends on that individual's referral. So there's a distinction there.
Okay. All right. Are there overnight locations during hot weather?
That is a great question. There are not overnight locations during the hot weather, but there are cooling centers, and usually when the county activates whatever they call it, extreme heat, the VTA offers free rides. So the libraries and community centers do become cooling centers. You're welcome to come in. They usually have cold water bottles, try to get people out of the hot heat, but nothing overnight.
And to that point, just to build on what Juan said, most public buildings are just that, they're public. So most public buildings, if there's a 95 or 100-degree day in the middle of August, you are free to go to any library or any community center so long as it's open, as a member of the public, and use that facility to cool down for a little bit, get out of the sun, maybe charge your device. So any public building is just that, it's a public building. All right. Next question is about our emergency interim housing, also known as tiny homes to some people. What training do EIH management teams get to deal with drug addicts and people with mental illness, etc.?
Each agency who operates our interim housing sites usually has their own set of training materials, but the typical services, training that folks get when they're in this field is always de-escalation, crisis intervention, harm reduction, the first aid training. We have a great partnership with behavioral health, and so if there is a special individualized case, we often case conference around a person, and how we could best support them so that they are safe and everybody else is safe as well too.
Next question is, I know someone who's in the process of getting evicted and they're worried about becoming homeless. This person says, I'll give that person the hotline information. Are there other resources? And I would just remind people of what Vanessa talked about a few minutes ago, the HPS, the Homelessness Prevention System. It provides for individuals who qualify short-term rental assistance. And so there is a qualification process, but anyone who currently is housed right now, has permanent housing, has a lease, has an apartment or a home, the homelessness prevention system is a good first call before they lose their home, before they're out on the street, while they're still housed. It's good to reach out to that resource to see if they qualify. All right, next question is about who makes the decision on whether to allow minors, meaning young children, into a shelter site.
We just
So we don't operate any family-specific sites with the exception of one of the motel programs that does have, or at least that was slated to become a site to accept minors. The sites in San Jose that are non-congregate sites are really focused on serving adults. So apologies for the Teams noise. Serving adults, so couples and single adults, as well as multi-generational adult households at one of our sites. The majority of the family sites that exist in the city of San Jose are county sites, and the county has their process of placing people. Vanessa, Juan, do you want to add to that?
The two programs that the city funds, but partner with the county for placement, all our referrals come from the Here For You hotline. So that would be the Evans Lane Tiny Home Community and our Motel Voucher program are all programs that you call the Here For You hotline. They ask you those series of questions. And if you are part of a household with minors, then they would offer you a placement that could be a place that they could offer you placement at. But it has to go through the Here For You hotline.
Okay. Where are the owls open this winter? And specifically, just for the next couple of nights, can you tell us which of the owls, because I think only one of the owls has expanded to accept drop-ins for the next couple of nights.
Great question. So the owls are at Roosevelt Community Center, and the library is Evergreen Library. If you are going to do a drop-in, please go to Roosevelt. Yeah.
Okay.
As a reminder, these are for singles and couple adults 18 and over.
All right. Another question about accessibility. I'm asking about the overall ADA accessibility elements. This means the size of cots, space allocation for people with disabilities, restroom accessibility, um, and overall ADA plans. And so I don't really see a question there. I just see a period at the end, not a question mark. But I don't know, Juan or Vanessa, can you just talk about the hotel motel programs that we've opened up and our tiny home sites? If we do have officially ADA compliant units at those locations?
Mhm. I do believe we have 88 units. And so one of the things that we've done in our HMIS and our VI is asking a very intentional question is, do you require ADA accommodations? If the individual answers yes, we have a way to filter through that. So individuals that do request ADA accommodations, we try to respect that as much as we can. That would be placing an individual, prioritizing them for a motel that is ADA compliant.
And at least the tiny home communities that we fund and are part of the development, yes, we have ADA units, meaning that they are wheelchair accessible, meaning they're large enough to accommodate a wheelchair. We have ramps that go up to that unit, and then space within the unit is obviously under the compliance as well. The sites that we have that are not buildings that we have been part of the development and we have inherited, we will provide first floor level units so that people, if they have mobility challenges, which is more times the common request when we get ADA requests, is that they need assistance with mobility, we will place them on the first floor. And then in some of the, for instance, motels that we have, they have building codes that they follow and have to have so many units set aside that have other amenities for somebody with ADA needs.
Okay, one person's asking where they can find us on social media when we post updates. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. So we are on 4 social media platforms, and our handle is at SJ City Housing, at SJ City Housing. Um, uh, I think LinkedIn might be a little bit different, but for Twitter or X, Facebook, and Instagram, it's at SJ City Housing. All right. Another question. This one, Sarah, this one might go to you. I think it's more of a policy-oriented question. If I know of someone who owns a home and might be willing to rent it out to people in return for someone paying the mortgage, is there a program for that? Any funding for that?
I think I would need to know a little bit more about the particulars of what's being asked there. But I'm happy to receive an email. Someone can email me sarah.fields@sanjoseca.gov, sarah.fields@sanjoseca.gov. And I will look into this. I think I need a little bit more information, probably a little bit more in the weeds than where we want to go today. But interested in more specific questions, you can send them to me.
Okay. Next question, is the county planning to open up any more sites similar to Cerrone? Uh, you're talking to city staff here. Vanessa, Juan, Sarah all work for the city of San Jose, so we can't speak for the county. But Sarah, is the city planning to open up any more interim shelter sites that you're aware of?
So at this time, the answer is not in the immediate future. We've opened several sites across the past about 18 months or so. And Cerrone is sort of the conclusion of that period of expansion. And now, really, this coming calendar year, 2026, is going to be very focused on operations and really making sure that every site has high utilization numbers, and that we're seeing success across the board, which can look like a variety of different things because we're serving people and people can find success in a variety of different ways, but we're really looking at sort of maximizing the system that's been built out over the last couple of years.
All right, thanks. So we are approaching the top of the hour, so we'll probably just have time for a couple more questions. Okay, this person says some tenants have been living in EIHs, the tiny home sites, for a long time. What is being done and what is being offered to help them move into permanent housing?
So case management is on site at all of our interim housing locations. It is highly encouraged. And so somebody who is interested in moving along would ideally work with the case manager to figure out exactly what the needs are, that their needs are, and then that case manager can help develop a housing plan, and they could work through the various steps they need to move on.
Okay, next, Sarah, this might be another question for you. And I don't know if we'll be able to answer it at all, but the question is, can you elaborate further on what enforcement looks like and when does enforcement happen?
I could help with that one probably.
Yeah, Vanessa, why don't you jump in, please?
Yeah, enforcement. So when we talk about enforcement, the end result is ultimately the department that's in charge of encampment abatements or enforcement would be Beautify San Jose. They're under the Parks Neighborhood Recreation Department. Department of Transportation also does a level of enforcement, and ultimately they are removing the encampment or the lived-in vehicle. However, there's a very specific process that each of those departments has to take to ensure that noticing and proper documentation is occurring before anything, any enforcement or removal can occur. You can go onto the Beautify San Jose website, and there is a lot of information about abatements and their encampment management. And Department of Transportation has a link on their website under the Olive program, and they can inform you on how that program provides enforcement.
I'll just add very quickly, enforcement, as the name implies, is really thinking about sort of the law. And on a related note, I see that someone asked, and I want to make sure that this question gets answered. Someone asked, do you, meaning the city, do outreach along the Union Pacific Railroad tracks? And the answer is the Union Pacific Railroad tracks are not under city jurisdiction. The railways, in this case, are federal, and Union Pacific does their own mitigation and outreach efforts along the railway track. In part, I think because of liability issues, we do not have, frankly, the authority to go into the immediate area right next to and surrounding the railway track. There's some other areas that are like this too, where the city doesn't have jurisdiction over these areas, even though it may seem like they're part of the city. They're actually not. So I wanted to make sure that we got into that question because I know I've heard it come up in community meetings and some other arenas as well. So I just wanted to make sure we get into sort of authority while we're talking about the question of what is enforcement exactly. Vanessa or Juan, do you have anything to add about the railways?
So yes, we don't technically have authority there. However, we will provide outreach safely if someone is living on the railroad track, we won't approach the railroad track, but we will, try to get somebody's attention to let them know that we're here to provide them services. But walking along the tracks and that type, we are very cautious and we don't do that.
Thank you.
All right, so it's we're at the top of the hour, so I'll do one more question here. And again, I just want to reiterate that all of this will be posted on our website, and all of you will receive an email with a link when all this is posted. So these resources will live on after the end of this Zoom session. But I'll read one more question, and that is, what is the city doing to ensure that interim housing sites are being managed consistently from one site to the next?
While yes, our colleagues that oversee the interim housing locations, they are doing when there is a contract that they need to amend or update, we are trying to be very have a lot of continuity around each site being operated very similarly. So rules, site operations, and services that they offer are all similar. There's not a huge discrepancy on what each site can offer. So if it hasn't been updated already, it will be updated in the new iteration of the contract when if we need to update it.
And I'll just add, our grants team does a great job of monitoring contracts. They're meeting regularly with the site operators, and there's required reporting across the period of a contract. So it's an ongoing effort.
I was muted. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We had a great conversation, and I'll send out that email in the next few days once all the resources are online so that you can access it, and anyone who you know who wasn't able to join today can access it. Again, thank you very much, and thank you to Vanessa, Juan, and Sarah for sharing their expertise with the audience today. And I think with that, we will wrap it up. So have a good evening, everybody.